but he has still not given any information to board members. There was ample time to call a special board meeting or at least issue some information to board members, especially after the information was reported by HSTA and in the media. If Chair Toguchi intended to brief the board at tonight's board meeting 2 weeks after the tentative agreement was announced, that by default may have excluded the input of board members because he was already working to get legislative support and the governor's approval of the agreement. Was this agreement not important enough to call a special meeting to inform the board and get the board's approval? In a new development yesterday, Governor Lingo rejected the agreement between HST and the board. What would have happened if she approved the agreement and then we found out that the majority of this board did not agree? I'm also concerned to hear rumors that only one of our 2 board negotiators participated in reaching the agreement with HSTA. The board is entitled to a full explanation of what happened and who actually made the decision to commit the board to this controversial agreement. I also asked for an explanation of why one of our 2 board negotiators, who is very well respected and who has served as a negotiator with honor and distinction, was not reappointed to this position this year. Second, Superintendent Hamamoto's resignation. I learned of Superintendent Hamamoto's resignation after receiving calls from the news media on the afternoon of December 31st, Superintendent Hamamoto's last day on the job. Other board members learned of her resignation, as you heard, from the television news at night or from reading the newspapers the next morning. Chair Toguchi finally notified board members of Superintendent Hamamoto's resignation in an email sent at 3:30 p.m. on December 31st. After she notified her staff and after it became public. In this email, Chair Toguchi stated that Superintendent Hamamoto informed him on December 24th that she was resigning and that she submitted her resignation letter and notified her staff on December 28th. If Chair Toguchi was in fact trying to talk Pat Hamamoto into staying on the job longer, as he stated, he certainly had that right as an individual, but he had no authority to do so as board chair while withholding this vital information from the board for 1 week. His excuse that he delayed informing the board because he was hoping that she would stay on longer just doesn't compute in the facts. Was there another reason for not informing the board? If Chair Toguchi was in discussions with Superintendent Hamamoto and others to plan the transition, he overstepped his authority. If one argues that he had that authority to do so as board chair given the urgency of the situation, I say that his first duty was to notify this board. It is the board that determines the next steps, not any one individual member. Chair Toguchi is now calling a special board meeting on this January 11th to discuss this matter. Why wasn't a special meeting called immediately or an agenda item included in today's meeting? The agenda for today's meeting was filed on December 31st, and the agenda for a special meeting immediately following this meeting was filed on January 1st. So why wasn't a board discussion of plans included in either of these 2 agendas? The press conference on Monday, January 4th would have been very appropriate to announce and introduce Acting Superintendent Matayoshi and to reassure the public that she will keep things moving. However, as I understand it from media accounts, Ms. Matayoshi announced that she is seeking the superintendent's position on a permanent basis at that same press conference. Combining these 2 announcements was not appropriate because it gives the appearance that the board supports Ms. Matayoshi for the position that she seeks. Here are some of the media accounts of this press conference. Honolulu Advertising, Matayoshi announces her intention to apply for the top position, top job at news conference yesterday with State Board of Education Chairman Garrett Toguchi at her side. Honolulu Star-Book, board member de Apolisa told reporters the board has a lot of faith in this position. Even more concerning is the plan for the next step of the board appointing an interim superintendent. Again, here are the media accounts. Chair Toguchi's own press release. The board plans to schedule a special meeting next week to name Ms. Matayoshi interim superintendent. Hawaii News Now. The board plans a schedule a special meeting next week to name Ms. Matsuyoshi as interim superintendent. Toguchi said the Board of Education will vote on appointing her, Ms. Matsuyoshi, interim superintendent at a special meeting Monday, and consider the agenda for the special meeting on January 11th. The agenda item states the executive session on personnel matter relating to the appointment of Captain Matsuyoshi to the position of interim superintendent of education. What if I wanted to suggest considering someone else to be appointed interim superintendent? What if the majority of this board wanted somebody else? The way the agenda item is specified, because of the Sunshine Law, we couldn't discuss considering a different person. We can only talk about appointing Ms. Matsuyoshi. Was this set up in a way to stifle an open discussion among board members of other potential candidates? When it comes time for the board to appoint a permanent superintendent, who else would bother to apply for this position when the board gives the appearance that it's a done deal? Was this all orchestrated to discourage others from applying? So why did Chair Toguchi really delay notifying the board of Pat Hamamoto's resignation and delay calling a special meeting? Was it to give him time to manipulate things behind the scenes? I don't know. But as the events began to unfold, it certainly raises many questions. I'm not making any accusations, but I've heard this from others, and a cynic who knows something about political connections might say that it smacks of the old boy network and does little to instill public trust and confidence in our selection of the new superintendent. I object to what appears to be the manipulative orchestration of the board's appointment of an interim superintendent and a permanent superintendent. And please understand, what I've said has in no way any reflection on acting Superintendent Matsuyoshi. I have the greatest respect for her, and I know that she is well qualified. I am criticizing Chair Toguchi's handling of this situation, not her. And third, Board Public Affairs Officer. At a time when budgets were being slashed, positions and programs were being cut, and schools had to make tough choices, I questioned the wisdom of the board filling the vacant Board of Education Public Affairs Officer position and requested board discussion of the need to fill this position. I further stated that although past practice was that the board chair authorized filling the board positions, this should not be business as usual. Chair Toguchi proceeded with filling the position with no discussion. Among other things, the BOE Public Affairs Officer writes Chair Toguchi's press releases, commentaries that are issued to the media, writes Chair Toguchi's replies to letters and emails from the public, and makes statements in the media on behalf of Chair Toguchi. With the decision to fill this position made in a back room without board member input, questions will be raised. And please note again that my statements are in no way criticism of the incumbent, whom I respect greatly. I am criticizing the process. The authority of the Board of Education rests with the board and not with any individual member. If we knowingly allow one board member to act unilaterally to circumvent board decisions, what are the legal issues related to those decisions? And what are the potential liabilities to board members who support or enable this practice? If some board members are informed and consulted on issues but not others, there may be violations of law. Although many of us believe that the Sunshine Law is overly restricted, it is a law, and willful violation of the law is a crime. The public deserves a Board of Education that operates with honor, integrity, and accountability. The board must instill public trust and confidence in our public education system. Let's put politics and our own personal agendas aside and start acting like statesmen. And finally, I believe that it is not in the best interest of this board and our public education system for Garrett Toguchi to continue serving as chairman. I call for his resignation. His latest actions have deliberately misled the public and caused the appearance of tainting the process of appointing an interim superintendent and permanent superintendent. His stepping down as board chair is necessary for us to move forward with the public's confidence.